the thing for me about Sabonis is I think he's the guy you might want to keep around.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that he shouldn't be your first option. I get that. But he is so skilled offensively.
Okay, so let's go into, I mentioned I had one more CJ specific idea, and this segs right into the next team that we need to discuss because Twitter already went bananas about this last night, apparently. This is the downside of me going to sleep so early now. I miss post-game Twitter meltdowns, but the Indiana Pacers last night played the Miami Heat. They were at home. The Miami Heat were without Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. The Miami Heat got rocked in their first game without those two guys. They beat the Indiana Pacers 113-104. Pacers, still obviously without TJ Warren, who it sounds like things are trending in a positive direction, but he's not expected to return anytime in the next couple weeks at least.
Right.
And Sabonis was questionable for this game. He actually came off the bench. Torrey Craig started in his place, but he still played 37 minutes. So, other than TJ Warren, you got your main, and no TJ McConnell either, but you have 4 of your 5 main starters: LeVert, Brogdon, Turner, Sabonis. You lose to a Heat team without Butler and Adebayo. And I tweeted about it this morning, and Tony East, I believe he's a Locked On Pacers guy, pointed out this was not their first horrifying loss this year. They also lost to the Denver Nuggets without Jokic, Murray, and Michael Porter Jr. LeVert did not play that game, but Turner, Brogdon, Sabonis did. Leading scorer for Denver was Will Barton with 30. Nanji came off the bench with 19. So, this is a pair of really, really egregiously bad losses. Indiana right now, 9-16, 13th in the East. I mean, I know it's only 25 games into Rick Carlisle's tenure, but the chatter is only getting louder about, Sabonis Turner has been the central version of can Ben and Joe play together for the last couple of years. People have been ready to break this group up, and hell, it's the central version of can Dame and CJ play together? All these, all these duos that haven't won yet. This is what happens after a couple of years. Do you think Sabonis and Turner are the problem, or is it just what is wrong in Indiana right now? And will TJ Warren's return fix anything, or do they also need to make some pretty substantial changes here between now and the trade deadline?
No, I mean, it's not just one problem. That's the thing. I don't want to boil everything down to, this is a Turner Sabonis issue, because it's not just that. Is that a issue? Yeah, for sure. That is one of the issues that they need to figure out, what to do long term. But more so than that, they also need to figure out what is Karis LeVert going to be for him. What is his role moving forward? What about the perpetual injury machine that they're on? What about that? They need to go out and invest in a better training / medical staff. Are there underlying issues there? I'm not saying there are. I'm just saying that's something you need to check out at some point, because if your team consistently suffers through major injuries, then you need to see if there's something internally you're not doing right. That's pretty logical to at least go that route. And I think the bench as well. So let's take O'Shea Brissett, who we were very high on coming into this year.
Yeah,
because he played fantastic basketball last season. What's going on there? He's been just a ho-hum bench player, where last year you saw him splash triples, play hard defense, rebound, dribble the basketball. There was a lot to like there. And this year he's just kind of been there when he's played. So again, it comes down to consistency. What's your rotation? Who are your guys? And if that takes a few trades to figure out, sure, so be it. If that takes breaking up Sabonis and Turner, okay, fine. You got to go that route. But I think it was Zach Lowe who in his Friday column said that this was one of the most boring ass teams in the NBA.
Yeah. Like I forgot the exact term, like aggressively mediocre.
Aggressively boring. He's not wrong, and I think the players feel it as well. I mean, it's very, I don't know the term of it. It's just like it feels like it's a marathon just to get through a game, just watching them play.
Yeah,
and there's no energy. It's almost like they don't necessarily like each other. But that's not me saying that. That's just the feeling that you get. But then I also remember we had Caitlin on the pod who kind of insinuated, things weren't always great in the locker room.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole Nate Bjorkgren experience, I think, was its own situation. And, I said this morning, but it's like there are so many great people covering this Pacers team that it bums me out that they are this aggressively mediocre. Like, Caitlin Cooper is one of the smartest minds in basketball, and her having to sit through this direct for 82 games sucks. But, her and then Mark Schindler, who's now, he just hopped on with the basketballnews.com. Both are great Pacers followers if you aren't following them already. But I'm only
to ignore Mark's food takes.
Yeah, his food takes are aggressively bad. Yeah. But they watch more of the Pacers than we do. So I'm gonna just quote some of their observations that I've noticed throughout the season, and it seems like a lot of it just comes down to they don't have an identity. Like they just don't know what type of team they want to be. Are you, defensive mind? Like, is your defense going to force everything for you? Are you built around offense and you're going to punt on defense? Are you a pick and roll heavy team? Are you going to run everything through Sabonis? Who is your number one option on this team? I think Lowe phrased it like Sabonis, Brogdon, and Karis LeVert all think they should be the number one guy. But is there a clear pecking order? Or, you brought up LeVert, like efficiency has never been his thing, but we're at 41.4% overall, 25.3% from three this year.
Yeah.
That is a touching tribute to Russell Westbrook without the rebounds and assists, unfortunately. And then we got the injury history on top of that as well. I will say Chris Duarte has been a nice spot for them. But he's already, he was old for rookies, right, in his age 24 season. So, how much does he have like substantial room to improve, or is he just going to settle in as a nice rotation player? And at the part of the draft that they got him, that's fine. Like if he ends up just being a 5-year starter / key reserve, cool, good for you. Like it's hard to find productive players outside of the top 10, so that's fine. But like I don't think he's going to be a needle mover for them. So this is, again, it's like they have a lot of talent. I don't know if it all fits together. But the good thing for Indiana is that all of these guys are on extremely reasonable contracts.
Right.
So if they do decide to make some changes, it should not be very difficult. Like Brogdon, they can't trade him this year because he signed the extension, but he is the highest paid player on the team at $21.7 million this year. Sabonis is at 19.8. Miles Turner is at 18 flat for the next 2 seasons. LeVert is 17.5 this year, 18.8 next year. TJ Warren's 12.7 this year, free agent after it. Jeremy Lamb's 10.5 this year, free agent next summer. TJ McConnell 7.5 this year. So like, if they do decide to make some changes, they should be able to. I think one of the tricky things for them is if they do go after, a bigger name star in a trade, they're actually going to have to package together a couple of these guys, because these guys, like, a Sabonis, you would think of being enough to bring in someone like the Pacers or my other team for CJ. Like, I think something around Sabonis and CJ could make sense for both sides, but the Pacers would have to attach probably Jeremy Lamb just to make the salaries work.
Right. It's
not that should not be a sticking point at all. They should be totally willing to do that, but it's another rotation player, so then they're going to want even more back in return from Portland as well.
The thing for me about Sabonis is I think he's the guy you might want to keep around.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that he shouldn't be your first option. I get that. But he is so skilled offensively. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is an automatic double-double machine, who's severely efficient from the field, who is capable of racking up 5, 6, 7 assists per game from the big position. Now, the thing that I question is, like, sometimes he gets his assist by standing still at like the foul line area. That's not great basketball because then you kind of lose movement. So I wonder if he just needs a change of scenery as well, in which case, sure, you could do that. You could flip him for someone else. But then if you're the Pacers and he blows up elsewhere, you're just going, damn it.
Yeah.
That's what we needed. But I also understand it might be necessary. I understand the CJ trade if the Pacers want to go in a win now window right now, but he's still 5 years older than Sabonis.
Yeah,
They're leaving a lot of age out there. If anything, if Sabonis is available right now, Dallas should be calling.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's the team I think he'd be fitting well in. We have Dallas on the list as well for later.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Luka's partner, if anything. Like, that could be interesting. The thing is, what do they have in Dallas that could be interesting? And this is the problem we always run into. We identify certain guys who would kind of fit with Luka, and then we go, well, what do the Mavericks have?
I mean, Kristaps is the obvious one.
Yeah, but does he, like, if he comes to Indiana next to Miles Turner?
Yeah.
Unless you make it a three-way trade, but like, would Kristaps even help the Blazers?
If you're going under the assumption that Covington and Nurkic, you're like not building with them in mind, or you're going to flip them later. A Nance Porzingis front court is at least conceptually interesting.
Yeah, I will say I do think I do think they've needed shooting from the big position in Portland.
Yeah,
but he's just so volatile as a shooter. Like, he will go 0 for 7 one night, and then he'll go 7 of 11 and the other. Then he'll have 20 missed games in the middle of the season as well. I don't. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is I don't know what his trade value is at all.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's somewhat low.
Yes.
So, does it make sense to essentially flip CJ for Porzingis? And like, what's in it for Indiana? They get CJ. Well, so let's think about this. So they get CJ. You have a Malcolm Brogdon, CJ McCollum backcourt then. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that can make sense. Like, I think from Indiana's perspective, you know, Brogdon can play on and off the ball, and honestly, right, CJ can too. So
yeah,
that, like, and when Warren comes back, I think that's the thing you have to. I mean, again, if you're not going to re-sign Warren, then you should just trade him. But like, if you want to keep Warren around long term, you believe in him, especially given that nice stretch we saw in the bubble. Like, he's a 4. It's much like we were talking about Tobias Harris earlier. Like, you can play him at 3, but you're going to be wasting him there. He should be playing power forward. So you have to make room at either by trading Sabonis or by trading Turner. But, you know, a CJ, Brogdon, LeVert, Warren, Turner starting 5 is kind of interesting.
Well, no, so that's the thing for me, because that's the final thing. Then get rid of LeVert.
Yeah.
I'm out on LeVert at this point with the efficiency need. I mean, he is what he is at this point. That's not to say he's not an NBA player or an NBA rotational player. He clearly is, but I don't think he's a starter necessarily. I mean, you just can't keep having a guy in there who's just chucking to the extent that he is. He is not an efficient basketball player. I mean, the name of the game in today's league is efficiency and it's defense, and he provides very little of it. He's a shut hound, and that's it. Plus, you don't really need his offense if you're getting in CJ and you're getting back TJ Warren in the lineup. Like, you would have Brogdon, CJ, Miles Turner can also score. You would have TJ Warren. You're going to need someone else at the 3, and right now you're probably cooking up Ben Simmons trade.
I wish. No, I feel like there's a 4 team. Whoever can come up with this, just DM it to Daryl Morey. But there is a 4 team Sacramento, Indiana, Portland, Philly, Ben Simmons is going out, and somehow everyone ends up happy. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's out there somehow.
Right. But I'm coming around to the idea of having, CJ in the backcourt with Brogdon, and then a TJ, Miles Turner front line with player to be named later at the 3.
Justin Holiday and Torrey Craig are both under contract there for the next 2 years.
They are. That's true. But I was thinking moving LeVert and stuff to actually get someone in there at the 3 to really flesh out the starting lineup.
Or hell, you can steal minutes with Holiday or Chris Duarte.
Yeah, that's true. Man, think about this. Remember last year when nobody wanted DeMar DeRozan?
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have been fun there.
He could have been. Yeah,
it could have been a lot of fun in Indiana. All right, well,
I'm with you on thinking if you can find a taker for LeVert, it's probably that's at least another area that I would pursue. Like, depending on what they want to do with TJ Warren, if they want to re-sign him, one of Sabonis or Turner's got to go. I hear you on wanting to keep Sabonis and trade Turner potentially, because I think Sabonis is the better player and has the higher value, but because of that, he might be the guy to trade.
Right.
It just seems like Miles Turner's trade value is not super high around the league. Like, Boston was signed to him with the Gordon Hayward stuff, I think. And, Danny Ainge just did not seem to be very high on him, which is ironic because he would actually be a great fit in Boston. But, we've been tantalized by him for years because you see the skill set and you're like, man, this guy could be the next unicorn. And then here he is averaging around 13 points and 6 or 7 rebounds a game, blocking every shot under the sun. He's led the league in blocks in 2 of the last 3 years. He's leading the league in blocks right now. So great rim protector. And, he's shooting a career high 40.5% from 3. So the skill set is there. He's just not able to create his own shot very often, not aggressive enough offensively. It's just not ever going to happen for him. That's okay. But the Portland and Indiana are the two where it's like, if they don't make major changes by the deadline, just what are we doing here? Why are we wasting everyone's time? These teams are going nowhere. Try to shake things up and see what happens.
So I have 2 remaining thoughts here about the Pacers. First things first, just to close off the Miles Turner and trades ideas here. I went on TV the other day, and I pitched the James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga for Miles Turner and O'Shea Brissett idea.
Oh,
but that's of course under the assumption that Indiana is willing to pivot into a youth movement. We know from history that they aren't necessarily that inclined. They're a team that they're very Spurs-esque in the sense that they want to make the playoffs. They want to compete. So I don't necessarily foresee that as all that realistic. But if they were to say, okay, let's get younger, I think you could pretty easily flip both Miles, Sabonis, a lot of their pieces. Because like you said, those are good deals. Those aren't old players. Miles Turner is 25. What is Sabonis, 24 or something? 25 as well, maybe? 25.
Yeah, I believe he's 25.
Okay. Those should be easy to flip as well. These aren't old players. So if you want to go into a youth movement, you also have to gauge, how can we optimize our return? Do we get a better return of trading some of these guys for win-now players? Or do we actually get more bang for the buck because we're sending out guys who are fairly young so we can optimize pick acquisitions? And I understand it's going the Oklahoma City Thunder route. I understand that. But that's a viable option. I don't think it should be dismissed out of hand. Secondarily, my second point, and that's the final point about this, even if we did the original thing we just talked about, you made the Sabonis for CJ trade, and you ended up having, Brogdon, CJ, player to be named later, TJ Warren, and Miles Turner in your lineup. Do you then figure out who like what kind of direction you're in, or what kind of identity you have. Like, is that even enough to understand who you are as a basketball team? I'm not sure. Like, you're still left with some offensive-minded players, some defensive-minded players, and that's it. It sort of feels like the same situation Chicago found themselves in years ago when they kept drafting one-way players. Like, you need multiple players who are two-way guys. Right now, they have Malcolm Brogdon, and that's it. Roughly,
I mean, you could sort of make an argument that Miles Turner has that potential, but again, like,
right?
I don't.
There's
think
that P word again, though.
Right. I don't know. Like, potential and reality have not lived up to one another yet. I don't know if it's going to.
So yeah, I mean that's why they have identity issues.
Yeah,
they need two-way players, and getting CJ is not the answer to that. He's a one-way player as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point.